It's March. In our household, it's time for all things that are Irish. One way I do that with sourdough is I make a sourdough Irish soda bread. And one thing that you'll need ahead of time for this recipe is you'll need sourdough discard. So I have some jars that I've saved in my fridge. This one is completely full of sourdough discard. I'm actually gonna make only a half batch. My full recipe is for a larger bread. First, we're going to add our dry ingredients. And if you don't have a scale, it's okay because my recipe has the American measurements as well. 200 grams of all-purpose flour, 50 grams of whole wheat, 15 grams of sugar. The sugar is optional, and a lot of people think it's not traditional, but I like a little bit of sweetness in there. I'm going to add our salt. This is half, so it's about 4.5 grams. In American measurements, we're looking at 3/4 of a teaspoon. And then here's our baking soda. This is 4 grams of baking soda. Here is our ingredients so far. A little mix. Traditionally, this would be mixed just like this with the flours, the salt, maybe a little sugar and baking soda. And traditionally, buttermilk is then added because the acidity of the buttermilk reacts to the baking soda in order to rise the bread while it bakes. But instead of using buttermilk, I'm using the sourdough starter discard because this acidity in our discard will react with the baking soda. And also, we're gonna let it sit for much longer than traditional Irish soda dough so that it can leaven, become more digestible, and do a little bit of rising as it sits. Time for the wet ingredients. I'm going to add 200 grams of sourdough discard. And you see it's pouring like a liquid, just like a liquid, and that is how you know you've discarded. All the gluten is broken down by the good bacteria. Now the water. I'm adding the water to a separate container because I don't want to mix it in here, because if I add too much into the bowl with all the flour and all the other ingredients, I can't remedy it. I can't take the water out once it starts absorbing. 80 grams of room temperature filtered water. Pouring this in. Here's what our dough mixture looks like right now. So we start the dough in the bowl, mix it up, and then we turn it onto our work surface. And you mix until all the ingredients are incorporated and you have a nice dough. So you see this is what our dough looks like now. Shape it just into a basic round shape. I'm just going to literally just shape it into a ball. And it will spread out a little bit as it rests. So once you have your ball shape, it's gonna go straight into your prepared pan. Again, this will be a smaller sourdough Irish soda bread. So this will grow in size and will soften and become a beautiful texture when we bake it. I'm going to cover this with plastic wrap, and it's gonna sit at room temperature for overnight or 6 to 10 hours. So as we let this rest, put some plastic wrap over it, and I'm also gonna cover it with a towel. Just make sure that plastic stays in place and we don't have any dry spots. But here's your Irish joke for the day, and I would love to hear yours. So if you have an Irish joke, please let me know what it is in the comments. This one comes from my grandpa and my uncles. My Irish joke for you is, when does the Irishman go to see the dentist? 2:30. That is my Irish joke, my cheesy Irish joke from my grandpa and the rest of my big family. I hope that you enjoy making this with your family. Stay tuned to see how this turns out for the final product.